Well, hello and welcome back to the Daily Brew, the devotional where every day we drink a new brew of coffee and we see what God is brewing for us in the Bible. Yes, it's cheesy, but it's true. And today you join me here in Auckland City, the city of sales, apparently. And it's good to have you here in my kitchen, back together again for another devotional day. We're reading the Bible 365 days of the year. We're covering every scripture in the Bible. And I'm excited to have you here with me today. Let's have a look at what we're reading. We're going to be reading Psalm chapter 66, verse 1 to 12, John chapter 12, verse 37 to chapter 13, verse 17, and 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 9 to chapter 12, verse 25. So those are our scriptures for today, and they're in the descriptions on every platform, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or any of the other various platforms that this may or may not be popping up on. Great to have you here with us today. Make sure you give those a good read and see what God is saying to you. Yesterday, we had a coffee which may have surprised many of you that I actually didn't rate low. It is the Starbucks Siren Blend. Now, this is their medium roast. We've talked about this yesterday. It's their medium roast. I'll remind you of the tasting notes we're looking for. Citrus and chocolate, a refreshing medium roast with notes of citrus and floral aromas balanced by the taste of cocoa. So, that's what it's supposed to be, medium roast vibes. I gave it a 6 yesterday in the Chemex, and today we're having it in a plunger, French horn press, also is what that's called. Butfirstcoffee.com, I think, is the website that I've been using for the plunger brewing method. So you can check that out for yourself today and copy that along. You know exactly how I've done it. Let's give this a go though today, and let's see if we can get any of that taste. Looks pretty hot. Is it going to be too hot for my mouth? Have I done that thing again? Oh, it feels too hot. Let's give it a try. Very hot. Ah! Jeepers. That's while it's hot. That's good. Sorry, it's taking me a little bit to get that in my mouth because it's very hot. Wow, that's actually good. Guys, I know we all want to love to hate Starbucks, but it's actually not bad. I know you don't believe me, but you've actually got to believe me. This is actually not bad. And it wasn't expensive either. Really, like it was mid-range pricing, which for Starbucks, they normally charge you heaps and don't give you a good tasting coffee. This is actually not bad. Wow. Honestly, I'd have this as a plunger every day. Huge call. Massive call. And I can't believe I've said that about a Starbucks coffee. And you think, look, I'm still not sponsored. Starbucks, you could sponsor me if you wanted to. Could be a good sponsorship deal we could have going. Can you sponsor the Bible? Not sure if you're allowed to do that actually technically. Regardless, I actually don't mind this. This is actually good. I'm going to put it at an 8.5 out of 10. That's so high. That is so high. That's why. Am I sure? Am I actually sure that in the plunger I'm going to give it that one more taste because I'm shook. Yeah. Look, I mean, there's nothing to dislike. It's got the citrusy flavor. Then the chocolatey aftertaste comes in. It's light, even as a plunger, it's light. As the Chemex, it lost, I think, a little bit of that earthy flavor, but as the plunger, it's actually quite good. So there you go. I'm as shocked as you are. Here on the Daily Brew, day 142, mark this day down in your calendar diary, the day that I said that Starbucks. And it might mean that you think that I'm totally lost on flavor, but give this a go. Give it a try. I'd love to hear your comments. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about this. At Harry Slade NZ. Feel free to message me and tell me what you think. But that is it for now. We're going to move on to our devotional for the reason that we are here, and I'm shocked. So let's move on. Let's move on. God is a refiner. I wonder if you actually comprehend what that means, or if you've ever thought about it. He's a refiner. See, what God does is that he walks with us through really tough seasons to refine, strengthen, purify. That's what he does. He wants to refine us to ultimately strengthen and purify us, like gold going through a refining process. At times, this feels unfair, unjust, or unkind. But by allowing us to go through this, our faith gets stronger and purer as we see God's faithful hand at work in our lives. Often, we choose to be negative about this process, and to be honest, to be fair enough. Sometimes the refining process sucks. Sometimes it's really, really hard. But some of the things that we go through are some of the most important things that we need. And what I want to encourage us to do is I want us to, when we go through refining seasons, to try and not be upset and grumble, but to embrace the refining process. You know, we have to flip the script, and we have to get to the place of gratitude and celebrations for these tough times. We have to be able to look beyond the season that we're in and see what God is trying to develop in us and trying to allow us to have developed. You know what we should do is, instead of grumbling in the frustration, we should celebrate in God's faithfulness. I like that. That's what I think we should do. And this part of Psalm 66 is actually a picture to us both of the fire and the favor of God. Both are guaranteed for us. Both fire and favor. With the fire coming first, it can be hard, but we have to go through the fire to have the favor closely following behind. God, He is a God who has preserved our lips and kept our feet from slipping. I thought that said persevered, but it says preserved. He's preserved our lips and He's kept our feet from slipping. He is a good God. He is faithful, and He deserves the praise regardless of what our days look like. Ultimately, we will always have the single greatest act of love and how do you say that word? What's the opposite of selfishness? Selflessness? Jeez, that's wild that I'm struggling. Selflessness. That's the right word. Why am I struggling with this word? Why am I struggling? Anyway, ultimately, we will always have the single greatest act of love and selflessness to celebrate and be grateful for. Jesus' death and resurrection. I'm not laughing at Jesus' death and resurrection. That's not the joke. The joke is that I can't say selflessness without stressing myself out. Jesus, He did this not to judge the world, but to save it, to rescue us out of the darkness of this world and bring us into an era of life and light. Jesus, He washes his disciples' feet. And after He is finished, He asks the disciples, do you understand what I've done for you? Now, at first glance, when I read the scripture for the very first time, I remember being like, no, I don't really understand what you've just done, Jesus. This is very confusing. I have no idea why you chose to wash another man's feet, let alone 12 of them. That in a total is 24 feet. I don't know why you've done this. This is very confusing. Now, in this act, we actually see four things that personify Jesus and His ministry on earth, okay? The first thing we see is love. By washing His disciples' feet, He displayed the full extent of His love. See, this is pretty different to the love that the world would define love to be. It's love in and of itself is more than a feeling or emotion. Biblical love is a decision to treat people the way Jesus would treat them. That's what love is. And in this moment with His disciples, we see this love on display. The second thing is service. Now remember that the roads these guys are used to traveling are dirty. That's an understatement. They're filthy. They're unsurfaced roads. They would have been dusty, and in wet weather, this dust would have turned to mud. Now, for wealthy people, they would put a little bucket outside the house, and you would wash your feet as you come into the house. Now, they could have washed it off at the bucket, and it would have been left to the lowest slave to actually do the physical washing of the feet. But Jesus, He shows us His love through service, making Himself that of the lowest servant of the house. This is the love that we're supposed to display as well. And the third thing is humility. Those who seek their own glory are really reduced to nothing in the long run. They will always fail. Every single person who seeks their own glory always fail in the long run. Now, it might not look like failure in the world, but spiritually is what I'm talking about. We'll fail spiritually. We'll be distant and far from God. See, if you try to exalt yourself, you will be humbled. However, if you humble yourself, you will be exalted. Jesus has all the authority in the universe, but here in this act, we see Him exercising His authority in a new way. He bridges the gap from the leader to those who follow. And what we must do is we must seek humility in every act, not to diminish our authority, but exercising it like Jesus did. And the fourth thing is forgiveness. Washing and cleansing is a sign of forgiveness, like the cleansing of sin. This foot washing was a picture of what Jesus was just about to do on the cross. And through Jesus' service and sacrifice on the cross, we know that we've been forgiven. This foot washing was just a symbol of what he was about to do. Jesus shows us here that he was willing to do whatever it takes to see his people forgiven of their sin. And Peter, who I love, speaks up and says, wait, hold on a minute. What are we all doing? What are we all doing? Judas, you're liking this a little bit too much. You gotta relax. Relax your little toes, okay? Relax that. Stop it. Whatever is happening, Jesus, cut it out, okay? Look, I'm gonna wash your feet. You can't wash my feet. You are the Messiah. You are Jesus Christ. You're not washing my feet. You will not do this. And Jesus, in response, he says, unless I wash you, you will have no part with me. Unless I wash you, you will have no part with me. See, this washing was ultimately to be done by his blood on the cross, that paying that price so that we could be completely forgiven of our sin. This is a great reason to celebrate, guys. This is a great reason because Jesus has washed us clean, and so we can have part with him. We can have a part with him. And I'm so grateful for a God who is willing to do this for me. Finally, today, I want to talk to us about how we need to celebrate success. We see at the start of Saul's reign as king that he was sort of starting with a honeymoon period. He was touched with the power of God, no doubt. He was rich in prophecy, wisdom, and knowing. He knew when to sit back, and he knew when to say nothing. And that is actually a skill that I need. I need that skill. That would be helpful. God, he gave Saul great victories. He was very much on Saul's side as king. Notice in verse 15, after the victories that God had given them, they had a massive celebration. I want to encourage you that when you experience victory in your life, to make it a practice of yours to celebrate. When you cross a milestone or you get victory in an area that you've been struggling with, or maybe it's a physical victory, you got to celebrate. Take time and celebrate what God has done in your life. Samuel has a farewell speech where he tells the people to consider all the great things God has done for them. See, they can be a downfall of success, that we actually forget what God has done. That's why we need to celebrate. It can be a downfall if we don't celebrate the success. We can forget what God has done in the next battle. Samuel also says something interesting. He says in verse 23 that he didn't sin against the Lord by failing to pray for them. See, the encouragement for me today is to not get caught up with my own issues and needs, that I forget to pray for those around me. I want to encourage us to lean into prayer and believe God for good things over the people around us and in our lives. And then you can celebrate in their success too. Celebrations just everywhere. It's going to be great. Verse of the day. Yes, the summer verse of the day, John chapter 13, verse 9 says, "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." I love this. When Peter realizes the significance of this moment, he goes from being all out to very quickly being all in. See, when we realize the significance of what Jesus has done for us on the cross, we also have this opportunity to respond the way Peter did. See, for some of us, we're all out, and that's fine. We're figuring this thing out. I pray that you would come to the realization of who Jesus is and what he's done for you, and you'd go all in. But for some of us, we're sort of this half in, half out. Guys, now is the time to say, Jesus, not just my feet, but all of me. Wash me clean. That is it for today. The Daily Brew done and dusted, day 142. A little bit longer than usual. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of fun doing this one. Thank you so much for joining me today, though. I'm praying for you, as always, that as you read these scriptures, God speaks to you and reveals something unique to you. Feel free to let me know what it is and say something encouraging on the comment section in YouTube or in my social media DMs at Harry Slade NZ. I'd love to hear from you on Instagram. That is it, though, for today. Join me back here tomorrow for day 143 of our journey through the entire Bible. I love you. I'm praying for you. If it's the start of your day, have a great rest of your day. Unless it's sleep time, good night, sleep tight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for the Daily Brew. That's what we're doing, and we're going to do some more tomorrow. See you. Bye-bye.